We're talking college sports in the Deep South, where college football is king and the battle cry is War Eagle. We would like to think that the SEC is probably one of the better conferences in college football. And the SEC West, highly competitive, some of the most fierce rivalries, at least in the Deep South. Once again, it's K-Stu to go for Vernon Speaks Sports. We're talking mostly Auburn football, as no one else probably is willing to. War Eagle. All right, Fearless and True Gang, let's get this comment section active. Let's go ahead. Man, I get a lot of great information from you guys, especially we want to look at this thing analytically and also from a fan perspective. We talked a little bit earlier today about Gus Malzahn and reasons that Gus Malzahn shouldn't be fired per se. You know, a lot of folks had a certain belief about it. I mean, you know, you got to look at the contract standpoint, a huge buyout for the Auburn Tigers. You're also in the middle of the possibility of Auburn actually having a pretty decent season with what he and the Auburn staff have returning. Obviously, you have Derek Brown coming back. You have some very talented options at quarterback. Plenty of depth at the wide receiver. Still trying to get some guys off the transfer portal receiver-wise. Definitely going to be a challenge to replace Darius Slayton and Ryan Davis. However, some good guys coming up, but you also, you know, kind of need to solidify some depth at that position. So I say all of that to say this: even though Gus is kind of sort of off the hook at the moment, but one thing Gus has to do is he has the resources. He just has to help himself at this point. I mean, I probably want this thing worse for Gus. At this point, I want it for Gus. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to be an Auburn fan either way. They go 0-10. It's going to be, you know, kind of horrible. 0-12 is going to be horrible, but still an Auburn fan. But however, at this point, when you think about the opportunity that Gus Malzahn has, considering he was a high school coach for the majority of his career, to have the very, very unlikely opportunity to coach not only at the collegiate level, but to coach a Power 5 football team who has expectation to at least compete for championships for the most part. I mean, it's just a huge accomplishment. And it's not one that's even given to coaches who have, quote unquote, paid their dues and started out as graduate assistants, had to go through the whole offensive coordinator thing, had to coach at some schools that they might not have wanted to coach at. But I mean, he had the dream situation out at Tulsa, got a chance to coach at his, in his home state at Arkansas, had a chance to coach on, offensive coordinator for a national championship team in 2010 with Auburn, having played in another national championship game in 2013. So he's had just like a very unrealistic path as a college football coach. But now it's time for him to take full advantage of a very, very once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, in my opinion. Because that is not likely to happen for anyone else ever. And then even with that lack of experience, the only coach that has realistically competed with Alabama during the regular season in the last few years. So you team all of that up with a very, very good opportunity to really bring it home for Gus. That's what the Auburn fan base wants Gus to do, is finish the deal, and finish the deal in a very sensible kind of way. Now, when we look back, we look at a few things that have been very disappointing for the Auburn Tigers under the Gus Malzahn regime. We look at 2013. I mean, okay, Florida State, you've been kicking their behinds the whole game, right? Up to 21-3 at a certain point. You know, you score a touchdown to take the lead after squandering the lead. Okay, we get that. But the final drive for Florida State, you just can't. You absolutely cannot allow that game to slip out of your fingers. You just can't. Florida State had to drive about 80 yards with, if I remember right, maybe a little bit over, but you just got to get that done. You can't allow this game to end this way. Okay? Inexplicable. It's just absolutely inexplicable to lose a game of that high consequence in that manner. You know, and you think about the long-term effects of that particular drive on Auburn. You talk about recruiting. You're talking about having the chance to have 2 national championships within a 3-year span just ripped away, okay? These are the types of opportunities that Gus cannot continue to squander. Fast forward to 2016. Auburn facing Clemson. Deshaun Watson comes to town. Auburn obviously having some quarterback issues. Jeremy Johnson not panning out. Sean White, not necessarily, don't necessarily have the full trust in him. Go out and errantly recruiting John Franklin III. Played multiple quarterbacks in one game against Clemson. And the really gut-wrenching part about all of this is the fact that Auburn still had a chance to win the game late. It's just unbelievable. The defense played lights out, gave Auburn every opportunity to win that game, but just not taking advantage of opportunities. And Gus has to understand the implications of this. When he gets there, you got to have it. And even if you don't get it, you can't lose it in a nonsensical fashion. So, moving on to 2017, just disappointing how that season ended, considering all the effort in, defeating 2 number 1 teams in a very short period of time, appearing in the SEC championship with a chance even as late as the middle of the 3rd quarter. Lack of execution, just horrible game planning, in my opinion. Just had no solution or no answers after Kerryon Johnson is injured. Carried that same intensity into the UCF game. See, you got to understand as a coach. I understand that the UCF game had no real consequence. However, you have a team that is USC that has literally been screaming at the nation as to why they should be in the national championship. But what does Auburn do? Auburn just ushers that argument on into 2018 by UCF probably playing Auburn at arguably the worst that it had played since before the Texas A&M game of 2017, winning that game, furthering the national championship, argument for UCF. Thankfully, LSU ended that last year. But headed into the 2019 season, Auburn fans just wants to see a sensible display of football on the field. Not a whole bunch of jet sweeps, not a whole bunch of bubble. Man, if they run that bubble screen, man, I swear I'm going to throw a brick at the TV. Every time I see that play, it makes me angry. Even when it works, I don't like it. Okay? But anyway, we're talking Auburn football and the rest of the SEC. We're talking Gus Malzahn mainly today. Definitely want Gus Malzahn to be successful this year. Have nothing but the utmost respect for Coach Gus Malzahn as the leader of Auburn's football team. But he just has to get it done. I mean, he has the tools. Everything that he needs to make his run-pass option offense work is right there. Just take advantage of it, Gus. We're behind you for the most part. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. War Eagle.